to the OMG Hour.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 315 of the OMG Hour. We are your... Who are we today? We are your occasionally monomorphic ghouls. And, of course, I am Sean Evans, otherwise known as Zion Tane.
And I am Tico, Mr. Second Place. Here once again, week 4 million.
Is it?
I don't know. Is it not? Like, I don't know. I assume that we're going to go with the theme because, you know, we're talking about some space stuff. So isn't it like whatever, like light years away from Stardate 4 million. There you go.
So we have a special treat for our video watchers. Tico gets to talk before his video ever catches up to him. So that's
right. It is the closest we are going to get on this show to time travel.
That's right.
I will speak before my voice gets there. So, crappy computer.
Yeah, you will hear him speak before you see him speak. It's kind of like an old, Japanese, Chinese movie dub.
The Kung Fu
dub.
Dubs.
That's right. So, Excellent. So, let's jump into Couch Co-op. Television is starting up again.
Yes, I'm a
Several
fan of
shows have come back. But before they came back, over the Christmas holidays, or just shortly after, Dorothy's friend at work mentioned a show called Harper's Island, which was a one-season show back in 2009.
I loved that show. I will be honest.
Really?
I absolutely love that. I really enjoyed that show. It is, but it's horror-esque. It's right up my alley. It was supposed to be an ongoing series, which is kind of interesting. It didn't get the viewership. It was supposed to be ongoing.
It was a limited release. It was called a limited release.
Yeah, so what the original plan was, if this was successful, was to come back the next season with a new story, not necessarily the same characters playing, like same actors playing same characters, which is basically what American Horror Story has turned into.
Right. So Harper's Island is about a group of friends who all go back to Harper's Island for a wedding, basically. So they're all congregating back on Harper's Island, and slowly but surely, every single member of the wedding party starts dying. Somebody is killing them off, and it's a mystery as to who's done it. I'm going to be honest with you. I enjoyed it until. And I'm not going to spoil it. Well, I guess, can we spoil it? It's been 10 years.
It's been long enough, I think you can spoil it.
At the very end, I think it was the final episode.
Wait. Give a 5-second count in for anybody who wants to plug their ears.
Okay, I'm going to spoil the ending in 3, 2, 1. The whole time, it was the groom that was assisting the killer in killing everybody. It was such an out of left field twist that it was like so unbelievable.
It's really like a television version of I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream. Like along those lines of the storytelling. Every week somebody would get killed, and so you're sitting there like who it could be anybody on the island is the killer, and so you're left to believe it could be anybody, and then every week somebody else gets knocked off, and obviously
of all the people it could have been, that made the least amount of sense. It was just it felt so out of left field after basically portraying him as a hero throughout the entire show, and that's the problem. That is the biggest problem with that twist to me, is that you never portrayed him as questionable at all. There wasn't signs. There was nothing to follow, right? And that's the problem. There should have been signs and hints all throughout all of the It's almost as if the writers said, okay, somebody's going to betray them, but we don't know who yet.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out when we get there. And they're like, let's just make it him. You know? And then they tried to tie it back into their history and stuff they did as a kids. And no, I'm sorry, but if you're going to make him the betrayer, the one who's killing everyone, throw hints. Make him do douchebaggy things every now and again that don't make sense.
Yeah, like like throw it in there where like maybe it's him, maybe it's not.
Right.
Like so you're left really wondering, is it like they did in Scream with Skeet Ulrich, where like oh man, that really we think it's him, but then it's sort of proven that it's not him, and then you realize that there was
that's what
two
they
killers.
did. They did that with several characters. They did it with Jimmy. It's Jimmy. Jimmy's the helping, and they throw all these red herrings, and then they're just out of left field. Nope, it's Henry the whole time, and boom, just like that. No, I'm sorry, but that's not the. Like I said, there should have been breadcrumbs. There should have been signs. It was poorly written that way.
It was absolutely poorly written. Probably the reason they didn't get picked up for another season, and why American Horror Story is the ones who basically got to go on with that formula. Yeah. I did enjoy it though. I actually watched this originally on DVD, so we had the whole thing and can sit down and consume it in one big lump sum.
Were you okay with that twist?
I mean, it didn't make a ton of sense, but I had fun with watching it. It's right up my alley for the type of show it is, and the fact that they had something like that on TV in the first place was something. Because when this first aired, this is not when we had stuff like Ash vs. the Evil Dead and all of these horror genre things on television. That we didn't have horror on TV, at all. It was, you had your comedy and your dramas, and that was it. You didn't have horror as a television show. So this is one of the first to sort of do that sort of thing. It's commonplace now. And so we look at the writing and we say, okay, this was really poorly written because we've seen so much better since then.
Yeah.
But for them to write this as a TV show back then, it was not a format, and obviously wasn't that accepted, but it wasn't a format that they were used to writing for television.
No, and it
shows.
It's done. I'm glad it's over. Whatever. It just I when they made that reveal, I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? And it honestly ruined the whole season for me. Ruined the whole.
It could have been worse. It could have been some random person that you had not seen the entire time who just showed up and this guy's the killer. But wait a second, you just introduced him now.
Yeah,
yep.
I know. Anyway, I want to move off of Harper's Island. It's done. It's over. We've ruined it for everyone, but that's okay. It's not worth watching anymore. Anyway, the Orville came back 3 weeks ago, and
yes,
I'm telling you, my excitement for this show grows every week. Like, I am anxious to watch this show the moment it's available. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And it is so well done. I'm finding while they still have that humor, the comedic edge to it, it's become a little bit more serious, a little bit more drama this season, which I like. I like the fact they're going a little bit more drama, but still have just the funny bits.
It's quite a bit drier. Like, they've introduced a couple of new characters. Patrick Warburton is
my gosh,
the character on
Patrick Warburton's new character is hilarious.
Which is basically he's playing Putty but in alien makeup, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, in fact even Mike Henry is on the show as Doug. Yeah, and he's in alien makeup. They're getting like a lot of the Family Guy voice actors to play aliens on this show.
Jason Alexander is the bartender.
It's the bartender, yeah.
They're getting a lot of people to show up for the show, which is great.
I'm really, really enjoying it, and they are not afraid to tackle any subject.
Oh, there's been a couple of episodes that are, graphic to a point.
The second episode of this season.
Yeah.
In fact, I think last night was the fourth episode.
Last night was the fourth episode.
Was the fourth, right. The second episode of the season, they actually dealt with pornography addiction.
Yes.
Like, what? And they dealt with it well. Like, it was done well, but it was also sort of done in because it was done with a character that I think makes the audience feel uncomfortable seeing those interactions.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I think it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's uncomfortable no matter which character I think it is. I think that it was portrayed a lot more graphic than what you're used to seeing on television. So there was basically there was a lot. They used the holodeck as for porn, basically.
Which, come on, I mean, who hasn't since Next Generation introduced them?
That's why there's a holodeck. I'm guessing that's the entire reason they have a holodeck in the first place. Somebody created that thing for porn. It's like, hey, you know what? We could put this on the Starship and go from there. That's why there's a holodeck invented it in the first place. A couple of guys in their basement invented it, and then they decided to use it there anyway. So anyway, that's the case. And the character is Bortus, which is like the big, hulking, weird alien.
He's the Worf of Orville.
And there's a lot of very, I mean, they're mildly amusing but graphic scenes with him engaging in, I guess not engaging in
it's direct. Not, I mean, it's not hardcore by any means, but
PDA, but displays of affection that some people may be uncomfortable with. I think that no matter who they had in that, it would be an uncomfortable thing. But for the viewers to have that much of that on a show, it was a little unexpected, and you're like, okay, like maybe 5-second scene. You don't need a 2-minute long straight.
But it's interesting how they deal with the effects of that. In a marriage, because he's married and has a child, right?
Yes.
And so that's just they show how that affects that and what's going on and like even why he started it in the first place. It's a heavy subject, and they're not afraid to cover that. In fact, there was a couple of episodes in season 1 that dealt with other heavy subjects, but they're not afraid to do that, and I appreciate that. It's amazing what they're, I don't want to say getting away with, but braving. The waters they're braving in this show is amazing, that I don't even think Star Trek would tackle.
No, and stuff that, I mean, and again, I think it takes from what Star Trek did. I mean, the first interracial kiss, that sort of thing, that they tackled those things back in the day. That's right. And I think that's sort of one of the reasons why they are doing these things. Seth MacFarlane is a pretty vocal in politics, his putting his opinion out there, and he's using the show to portray his comments as well. I mean, his other show, Family Guy, the most recent episode of Family Guy was directly
in the White House.
In the White House, dealing with Trump. So I mean, he has no problems dealing with these subjects and putting them out there. It's one thing for him to do those things on Family Guy, where it's sort of a tongue and the complete off the rails comedy, but to take that into what is more of a serious tone in the Orville is really interesting to watch on television as it's unfolding.
Oh, absolutely! It's so well done, and that's why I love this show. This is. I want to talk about Star Trek Discovery in just a minute, but Star Trek Discovery Season 1, I think I've mentioned it before, I was not a fan. I don't think it was well done at all. It didn't feel like Star Trek in any way. And then along comes the Orville, which felt 100 times more like Star Trek than Discovery ever did.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I love about it. I mean, yes, it's Star Trek with a comedic twist, but it's not a parody. It's not making fun of Star Trek. It's actually honoring Star Trek, because Seth MacFarlane, you can tell through any of his shows, he's a huge Star Trek fan, right?
Yeah.
They have always, like Star Wars, Star Trek, he loves it just like we do. And this is his sort of like, I want to do a Star Trek homage television show, but because it's Seth MacFarlane, of course, there's going to be a comedic twist to it. And that's what I love about the Orville, but the comedy on the Orville is very, I want to say
dry.
I want to say real. It's a real comedy. It's guys being guys. It's people being people. You know what I mean?
It's almost like if they were filming like something like The Office, but in space, like on a starship. Kind of. And that's what it is. Like the type of humor and stuff like that is not your over the top, absolutely ridiculous stuff that you'd see on Family Guy.
It's not silly humor.
I mean, there's funny bits and some funny jokes and some funny characters and stuff like that. But the storylines are all serious storylines, and it's people's honest reactions to some of those storylines. I mean, like the entire first episode this season, the basis of the episode was Bortus again had to pee. His species only pees
once a year.
Once a year, and it's a big pilgrimage to their homeworld, so he could pee in his special spot.
That's right.
And the whole episode was focused around him going there as the main goal, with all the backstory stuff happening. But just making that as a I think they did an episode of Star Trek with that, where Spock had to go to back to his home planet to.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He had to. It's every 7 years.
Yeah, which was obviously what they were parroting with he had to pee once a year, and they have to, like, a whole starship has to go there so he can take a leak. Which is probably why you don't see more of his kind on the ship, because if you have to make that trip more than
once a year, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, talking about Star Trek, I want to move on. Star Trek Discovery started yesterday. I watched the show already today because already like the previews for it looked great, and I'm going to tell you, I think it was an hour without commercials. So what was that? An hour and a half premiere?
Yeah. An hour 10 maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, well, I guess it doesn't really. Yeah, I don't know how that would air because it would probably air without commercials. It's on CBS All Access.
It's on CBS. Yeah. So
I'm not. It's probably an hour and a half if you throw commercials in. But I got to tell you, that first episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2, 1,000 times better than the entire Season 1 already. Like 30 minutes in of this episode, and I'm like, now this is Star Trek. This is what Star Trek is, you know?
61 minutes runtime is what you got.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. I cannot wait to see where they're going with this. This was it. Like, this felt like watching... I'm going to say it was like watching an episode of TNG that had a budget 10 times the size.
All right, I'm going to have to catch up. I'm only a few episodes into season 1, so this is one of the ones I have to catch up on. So I will do that. Well, so when we discuss, I don't feel like I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but
no, but I still like you're talking about how great this is, and I want to know now.
Yeah, season 1 is sort of split into two parts, right? There's the Klingon War at the beginning, which I thought was told horribly. Just absolutely terrible. And then the second season, they transition to a whole nother story. And the whole second season takes place in the Mirror Universe. And it was actually really good. It was very interesting what they did. Like, I love the Mirror Universe stuff, but to take an entire half season and tell a story arc in the Mirror Universe was great.
Everybody with the evil goatees?
Yeah, basically.
That's the whole thing. It's the same stuff, just everybody's got the goatee.
Kind of, but anyway, Spock had a goatee anyway in that universe.
Yes.
But season 2 has started with a bang. Fantastic. I am really excited. Like they've gotten me excited for Star Trek again, for Discovery. But there's been a lot of news about Star Trek. CBS All Access is going all out with Star Trek. They've got a new cartoon coming that is called The Lower Decks, which it's a comedy series about the people down in the lower decks who you basically never see.
Okay,
right? It's
so like the red shirts.
Like kind of like the janitors of the starship type thing, you know? So that sounds fun. Michelle Yeoh is going to have a show, and she plays Philippa Georgiou in Discovery. She is going to be in a new show where she's in Section 31, which is sort of the Black Ops covert section of Starfleet. So they're going to have a show all about Black Ops stuff, but in Starfleet. And I'm like, I'm all in for that. One, I love Michelle Yeoh. She's a fantastic actor. I just love anything she's in. But for her to lead a show and she's a Black Ops operative in Section 31, that's going to be awesome. And on top of that, Patrick Stewart is coming back for a Picard-centric show starting at the end of sometime this year.
Which is fine, because he looks exactly the same as he did 25 years ago. So I mean, they could set it wherever they want to set it.
Well, it's going to be it's called like the further stories of Picard. But Patrick Stewart said he will only come on to it. He will only agree to do it if they do something kind of like that they've never done before. Like, he does not want this to be what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, I'm all in. Like, I don't know what story they're going to tell. I don't know how it's going to be different, but if Patrick Stewart is willing to come back as Captain Picard in this, and sort of like, I guess he probably may executive produce it. I don't know. Yeah. But he has basically said, this is the way it's going to go. I'd want to do something different. I don't want it to be what the fans expect.
Yeah.
So I'm great. I'm all in. Like, this is exciting to me. In fact, I mentioned this on Facebook, that I'm excited for all of these shows. And because of these shows, now with Discovery Season 2, the Lower Decks, the Section 31, and Picard, this is where Star Trek belongs. Star Trek belongs on television, right? It is a long-form storytelling show. And that's why I'm okay. I'm sure a lot of people have read that Star Trek 4, the movie, has been shelved. They could not come with Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth. They wouldn't agree to a pay cut or something like that. They needed more. So all the talks fell through for that. So the whole thing has been shelved. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, if you really think about it, the movies only came after a show had completed, right? The original movies happened after the original show was canceled. This Next Generation movies only came after TNG's 7-year run, right? The Star Trek reboot came after years and years of no Star Trek period, right? So it was good to have Star Trek back. But now that Star Trek is back on television, we don't need it in the movies as well.
I find that it's a series that a little bit like that. The slow burn actually works a little bit better.
It does.
Not having to get your entire, character development, story development, everything built out in a 2-hour span.
Right.
Being able to do that over a season, I think, because it's more intrigue with in politics and stuff like that that are involved, which works better in a television series.
And you can do a lot more things on a 1-hour show that you'd never do in a 2-hour movie, because it would just be dry and boring type thing, right? Yeah. But that's easy to sit down and have, like you said, a political episode.
Yeah.
And that makes sense for Star Trek. You couldn't do something like that in the movies. It has to be nonstop action type thing, right? It has to be a sci-fi action movie, but you don't need that in every week of Star Trek. And Star Trek has always been about tackling socioeconomical topics. Right? It's always been like that. That needs to be done on the small screen. Small screen is Star Trek's home, and I'm glad it's back, and I'm excited for what's coming. And I am done talking. I'm going to let you talk a little bit now.
All right. Well, I watched a couple of shows.
Okay, you're done. We're done. We got to move on.
That was not much time at all. Brooklyn Nine-Nine returned a couple of weeks ago, now on show. NBC.
Yeah.
They had, I believe, what they said was their highest rating since the inception of the show on NBC. Wow, so people really tuned in in force to support them in their new home there.
I love the fact that there was no evidence that it moved networks. Like it felt like it just continued. They didn't change the opening credits. They started right where the last episode left off.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. I mean, they're moving forward with it, but I love the fact that you don't sit down and think, "Oh, they've changed hands." It doesn't feel like they've changed hands.
Yeah. I mean, to that first episode, I was like looking, where do I get some of those shirts that Holt was wearing?
Oh my gosh! Right?
Like just some like every time he showed him, because he followed Amy and Jake on their honeymoon, and didn't bring any clothes, and so he just bought.
He was there when they arrived.
Yeah, and so he just bought a whole bunch of shirts from a random, and it's all of what you'd expect from. I think there's like a pineapple, in a thong that said "slut" on it, which. That's a great shirt. I mean, that's great for every member of the family. I mean, this is a great shirt.
Sure, yeah.
No, I'm enjoying it. It's funny. Yeah. It's right back to what you'd expect.
Absolutely.
Glad that's back. A couple of new shows that I checked out. There's one called Coroner, which is a crime procedural set in Canada.
Oh, where?
So it's set in Toronto. So, I mean, I don't understand if they know what the geography of Ontario is. Because in the one episode I was watching, she's with a suspect who's about to leave, and she's trying to like tag she's realizes this woman is probably the murderer, and so she has to try to keep tabs on her. And she said, "Oh, can I?" Because the woman's leaving to go to the airport. She goes, "Can I ride with you to the airport? I'll just catch a cab back to Dundas."
What?
And I'm like. And in my mind, the geography of that, and for our listeners who aren't in Ontario...
As in Dundas, Ontario, or Dundas Street?
Dundas, Ontario, is because she's had to move out of her house because of some personal stuff and everything like that, and get a new place, which is a little bit of a... But yeah, I'm like... So, and then you see them get on the highway, but you're going to, Mississauga, Toronto, and you're going to catch a cab back to...
Dundas, which is
Dundas.
An hour and a quarter away?
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me that would be a reasonable request that you'd make of somebody.
Right?
Like, like that's like me saying, Sean, like, can you just drop me off in Scarborough? I'll catch a cab back home.
Right? Yeah. No, it just doesn't work that way.
The wrong directions entirely. As I don't know, like it just felt very weird because of that.
Are you sure it was Toronto?
Well, she said to the airport, so I mean, I guess there's a possibility they're going to the Hamilton airport.
Maybe they're in Hamilton. I don't know.
It's possible they were going to the Hamilton airport. It looked like they were on the highway heading towards
like the 403.
Yeah.
40. Okay.
Yeah, 40340. So I don't know. Maybe it just felt like that took me right out of the show. I'm like, do you not know where Dundas is?
Is this a new show?
New show, 2 episodes in. Stars Serinda Swan. I don't know if you know who that is, but
no. I like shows that take place in Toronto or in Canadian locations close by. Rookie Blue took place in Toronto.
Yes, that was set Toronto.
They always got the geography correct. They would, and I like that about Rookie Blue. Is that they got it right.
I know that place.
Actual street names and locations, and it was cool. I like that.
Yeah. So far 2 episodes in, decent crime procedural. I'll keep watching that. Another one I started watching is on Fox called The Passage. It is a vampire show.
Oh, really?
So, which I wasn't really aware of what it was. I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, this might be interesting.
The description does not seem like that.
No, so it is. It stars Mark Paul Gossing. What's Zach from Saved by the Bell? Gossingler?
Oh, I don't know.
You've never seen?
I know who Zach from Saved by the Bell is. I don't know his name.
Oh, okay, but Mark Paul, whatever his last name is that I can't remember and how to pronounce it. It stars him. Basically, what's happened is the government has discovered vampirism and are trying to use it as a cure-all for all sorts of diseases. But of course, it's not gone well, and they've got a whole bunch of people that they're infecting.
They're now vampires.
That they're infecting with this virus, trying to perfect the cure to disease and stuff like that. But now they're testing it on prisoners and from prison and stuff like that. And so now they've got a whole lab full of prisoners and stuff like that that are vampires, basically.
Isn't this about trying to get a child to them or something?
Yeah, so they figured in the first episode, well, it's not taking, like the cure is not taking because the subjects we have are too old. So we need to infect a child. So we have to find a child that has no connections, and they send Mark Paul to go collect this child. Like he's part of the covert operation, and he develops an attachment to this kid as they're bringing it back and decides to make a run for it with this kid. Really feels very similar to like Logan with like Wolverine and
right.
X-23 sort of feeling, because this girl's going to end up getting some sort of vampire powers and stuff at some point. So
yeah, see, I'm not a fan of shows where the main characters are just on the run.
Yeah, no, I don't think that they're on the run based off of the previews for episode 2. Like they're right in the thick of it away.
All right. Yeah.
So
you liked it? It was well done?
First episode was actually well done. It was not like I was expecting it to be maybe a little dry, but it was actually, it feels like Logan meets The Strain sort of feel to it.
Okay. I want to watch the new Roswell that just started, Roswell, New Mexico.
Yes, Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a retelling of Roswell, which was about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
which I really enjoyed. So I'm kind of anxious to watch that. And I think there was another new show that just started, and I can't remember what it is offhand.
Probably.
So, anyway, we are quickly running out of time. One thing I want to talk about really, really fast because I'm excited for it. Netflix is getting together with Steve Carell and the co-creator of The Office to create a new sort of an Office-like take on Trump's Space Force.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is going to be the actual Space Force, which is like The Office in space sort of thing, or if it is going to be a satirical take on a department of the government that Trump says, I want the Space Force, and it's a group of people going, this guy's an idiot. What do we do?
It is, so Steve Carell will star in a new workplace comedy series that he co-created with The Office's Greg Daniels, so it is a workplace comedy, much like The Office, about the people tasked with creating a sixth branch of the armed services, the Space Force. So these are the people who have been tasked to create Trump's Space Force and figure out what is it?
Yes, and we should point out that this is an actual thing that Trump thinks.
Oh, absolutely.
In real life,
this
is necessary.
Right.
In the world.
Oh, how did they put it? I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it was. Oh, here it is. Netflix teaser says the goal of the new branch is to defend satellites from attack and perform other space-related tasks or something. So that's great. I am, you know what? I am all in.
I will
for Steve Carell back on television in a workplace comedy.
I mean, it makes perfect sense for Netflix to do this, considering the number one watched thing on Netflix right now
is The Office. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Followed very, very closely by Friends.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it literally became, let's get all the characters from The Office, and maybe the paper company closed down?
Yeah.
Now they're Space Force.
Dunder Mifflin in space. I would watch. I don't care if it's Dunder Mifflin in space, and it's basically if they reshoot every single episode with the same script with them all just wearing space helmets. I will watch that.
Oh, I think a lot of people would watch that for sure. Anyway, that's it for some television. Let's do some 7 Degrees of Translation. All right, are you ready for 7 Degrees?
I am. I quickly threw some together because
okay, so next week we want to say next week we're going to have a very special 7 Degrees of Translation, and I'll leave it at that for now. It's going to be a special edition, and it's going to be. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. We were hoping to be able to do it tonight, and it just didn't work out.
Timelines didn't work out for tonight, but it will happen.
Yes. Special edition. It's going to be 7 Degrees of Translation definitive edition or something.
Yes. HD. Remaster.
HD remaster.
VR.
Anyway, so let me see. You are currently sitting at a 53.3%, so 533.
533. I will take it.
You have
make it less.
You have 16 out of 30 correct going into today.
All right, it'll be 16 out of 33 after the day.
So I'm going to start.
All right.
My languages this week, I started with the L's. Latin, Latvian, Lithuanian, Luxembourgish, Macedonian, Malagasy, and English.
All right, I used 2 of the same languages.
Interesting.
I mean, English was one of them. But
these are all video games.
Okay.
They are all previous gen games.
So not this gen is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Originally released previous gen. Let's put it that way.
Okay. They may be available as a remaster or.
Yes.
Okay.
The first one, Ignored.
Ignored.
Yes. One word.
Oh.
Ignored.
So not the way I say it.
Not ignored.
All right. So previous generation, Ignored.
And there is still actually a bit of a theme going on with these titles I've chosen.
All right, so Ignored is previous generation's games. Is it single word to single word?
It is, yes.
All right. Of course, my brain stops functioning as soon as we start this game.
I know, mine too.
It's like, the word ignored I have. Let's see. All right, let's have another hint.
It is. I think it was originally a arcade download game.
All right.
So like a Xbox arcade title.
Okay, so
very popular.
Very popular?
Yeah, quite popular. It was really well received.
What was that one called? With the things and the shooting things. I don't know. I've got nothing.
Limbo.
Limbo. Oh, okay. That's current gen, isn't it?
No, that was previous gen.
That wasn't 360, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Was it? Was it though?
Absolutely. You'll know if you figure out the theme. All right, give me my first one.
All right, your first one is Far web.
Far web. What languages did you use?
Oh, I used Latin, Punjabi, Serbian, Ukrainian, Bosnian, and Maltese. And I will point out that certain languages, this is the first time I've had this happen with Google Translate, trying to go from Bosnian to Ukrainian, it just said, no, I'm not doing it.
No translation.
I give up. No translation. It said translation, translation error?
Yeah. Okay, so what is the words? What is the translation?
Far web.
Far web. And is this a game?
No.
Well, what is it then?
Oh, it is in the movie television range.
It's movie and television?
No, it's in that general umbrella.
Oh, far web. That would be Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yes, it is Spider-Man Far From Home.
Excellent. Your next one. This one's funny. I can't believe it came out to this.
All right.
Halogen.
Halogen.
Now think of... I'm going to give you a hint. Think of the word itself and how it's spelled.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Halo.
I'm going to let you keep going to get a little more definitive.
Okay. Halo Wars.
No.
Oh.
Halo Reach.
Halo Reach. Okay. I was close. I get half a point.
You were close. I
will a quarter point.
I'll give you that one because you did figure out Halo. But it's interesting it came out with the halogen. It's like interesting because halogen is a light source.
Yeah.
And so is a halo. Like it's always portrayed as a bright light source.
Yeah. And I think it's maybe just
it's
like you misspelled halogen, you moron. This is I'm gonna correct it for you.
Exactly.
All right. Your next one, Make Post.
This is also a movie, TV?
Correct.
Make Post?
Make Post.
The Postman?
No.
Make Post. Is there a theme between all three of these?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, yes.
I Make Post. Well, I've already guessed, so maybe I was wrong.
It is Space Force.
What?
Really?
I think, wow.
Space Force, I think it's like looking at the space bar and to force space, making a post to force a post. I don't know.
All right, the next one. Ready?
Yep.
Two hands.
Two hands. This is also a game.
Previous gen.
Yeah. Two hands. So appendage. Fist of the North Star. I know that's not it, but
is that your final answer?
No, I'm just trying to not have that much dead air here.
Right.
All right, two hands. I'm going to go Two Worlds 2.
No. Army of Two.
Army of Two. Yes, that was my next random guess.
Of course it was. Of course it was. All right, my final one.
All right. The Star Found.
Again, movie? TV?
Yes, movie, TV.
The Star Found. Star Found. Star Trek?
Need a little more?
Discovery.
Yes.
Star Trek Discovery.
Star Trek Discovery.
Found.
And the theme was stuff we already talked about.
All right, can you figure out the theme of mine? Limbo, Halo Reach, and Army of Two?
Is it...
It's a little bit, I mean...
I'm thinking that these are all games that I've played.
Yeah,
Who are 3 people that have never been in my kitchen?
These are all games that released the same year as PAX East first started, 2010.
Yeah, like I was gonna get that theme.
2010.
Oh yeah, if you figure out the theme, like no, even if you told me the theme beforehand,
was 2010.
Help me not.
Games in 2010.
Okay, I still that wouldn't have helped me. I'm not good with dates of
things.
I'm
you
not.
Dropped. You're now only 51.5. 5:15.
Hey, and that's with a little bit of generosity on your part too. So
yeah. All right, moving back. We got a little bit of time left to talk about games.
We've done that before.
Have we?
Yeah, we do that sometimes.
Sometimes, but not very often.
I mean, we're getting more into it now that more games are coming out.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we need like, I mean, at Christmas it's a bad time because nobody puts out new games at Christmas, really.
I forgot to check our chat while we were recording, so JJ Mahoney is there. I don't know if he's still here or not, but hello, JJ.
Hey, JJ. Don't make fun of me for getting all these things wrong.
So, okay. What are we talking? Sorry, my notes are on a different page. You and I have been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed still. The new DLC came out. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the new DLC. I've got a couple of more quests left just to kind of finish it up and work on the achievements for it.
I finished everything. I am 100% caught up again.
Yeah. I'm still really anxious for the next stories. It's like, just give it to me all at once, man. You know what? I don't want to wait 6 weeks between, like 3-hour play session.
Yeah, like give me if you want to go like 6 weeks at a time, give me 100 hours at a time worth of content.
Right, exactly.
Just 100-hour piece of DLC. Let me play through that, and you'll be ready to go for the next piece. Like that shouldn't be that hard to make.
Exactly. That's all I want. Just give me lots of stuff to do to last me 6 weeks. So anyway, I'm enjoying that. I think I liked what they did. Now, I want to talk about Ubisoft's apology to players, but I also don't because it kind of spoils the story. So I'm not sure how to handle this.
Well, I mean, it's been out there, I think, in the news. So anybody who's been paying attention to the news, like we can maybe do like a 5-second countdown again, and we're going to talk for like 2 minutes about
2 minutes,
this.
2 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, spoilers alert.
Yes.
For the second episode of Legacy of the First Blade. So at the end, your character essentially starts a family.
Yes.
With Darius's child,
son or daughter. Yeah,
which I didn't realize that in the first chapter, Darius's child was a female for you.
Yes. So depending on your choice of character, it will be the opposite sex for Darius's child.
Now, did you know that in the first chapter?
I believe I did know that after I had played, because I had read something about, again, a lot of people are playing, as Cassandra. Yeah. Cassandra. So like a lot of people have posted that information. So I was made aware of that after I'd played through.
So it wasn't until this ending I realized, and that's why I asked you. I said,
"Yeah,
did Darius have a son or a daughter for you?" And he has a daughter for you, but a son for me because I play as Cassandra. Yeah. So the issue here is that people are complaining that this is your character starts a family with a member of the opposite sex, has a child. Yeah. But people are complaining that they didn't have a choice. They were forced into this.
Yes. So this is part of the story. And part of the reason is because with the rest of the game, you're able to have relationships and stuff like that, be they, straight, straight or bisexual, whatever your preference is. And you can choose to play your character in that fashion. And for example, had you been playing as a lesbian the entire time, now you're basically put in a spot where your lesbian character is now having a child with
a man.
With a man, which, if somebody was playing that and identifying as that character themselves, which a lot of people do, may have been bothered by that, which I understand. But the story can't move forward if you're stuck to those constraints.
But here's my question. There is a point in the story where you have a choice to ask him or her to stay or not.
Right.
What if you don't tell them to stay? Would that have
So here's the thing. I did not, because I was actually slightly distracted, and I had looked over at my phone at the exact second that was happening, and I turned back, and those options stay or whatever, and I didn't select anything, and it just sort of carried off, and they left. And then I went to the next part of the mission, and when I got there, they showed back up.
Really?
Yeah. So that choice that you make, you say stay or leave or whatever, that has nothing to do with any story. They end up back there anyways.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, like she makes the decision, or I guess he would make the decision that they wanted to return to you and meet up with you where they were supposed to meet up with you anyways.
That is so bizarre. I get it. I mean, they had to have been planning this from the beginning with the fact that Darius's child is the opposite sex of your character.
Which is required in order for you to have a child with them.
Exactly. So they had to have had this plan right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to be honest. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But I understand why people are complaining. If I'm being honest, at the same time, I'm thinking, listen, this takes place like in 400 BC. That's just the way things were back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just, if you wanted to, like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You know? It's not, it certainly wasn't prevalent like it is in today's age. Like 4,000,
I think that it
2,500 years ago.
I think based off of some of the stuff we've seen in these games, it may have been slightly, to have, gay characters and stuff like that. It may have been very prevalent back then. For them to tell the story they want for the next piece of the chapter and everything like that, you need to have a child moving forward in order for that next piece of the story.
I don't know what the next piece of the story is.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I should say that I don't know that that's what it is. I'm assuming that you starting that family is required as
for part 3.
For part 3 of the story, and potentially for the other 2 pieces of DLC that are tied to this as well.
For Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I get the upheaval. I don't know if Ubisoft needs to apologize because it's their story they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
It's like complaining that Bayek and Aya are already married when the game starts.
Yeah. They've given you during the game as much freedom as they can do so without basically creating like The Sims and making you you get to make all your decisions. You don't have to go and fight anybody if you can just, start up a home here and do whatever. Like they can create that sort of thing if they want to, but they need to have some control over their story and the direction the story goes. And if it goes away from what your personal choices might be or your choices in the game might be, I can understand it would upset people, and but
they still need to tell the story.
The ability to tell that. The fact that they gave the choice during the main game in the first place, I think speaks a lot to how sensitive they are to that topic and not wanting to force people into those choices in a point where the story needs to be told. I think that they should be allowed to tell the story they want to tell.
I agree,
and allow that piece.
And there needs to. If I think about what they're trying to do is they want to show that there's a lineage from Cassandra / Alexios to the future assassins, and you can't do that if they don't get married and have a family.
Yeah, like if there is no continuity from that lineage, and we don't know what the next game's going to be. We don't know what the Atlantis DLC is going to be about. We don't know. Maybe we're going to get more games in this universe with these characters.
And which would be awesome.
I certainly hope so. Give me more DLC. Announce a season 2.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to see a season 2.
Announce a season 2 played 20 years in the future when their child has now grown up, and you're playing as that child, having learned.
I don't know. I would still. No, listen, I want to continue with Cassandra.
I do too, but listen, if I get more Assassin's Creed, I'll be happy. I'm just saying.
In the past, when they forced you to play a new character, it never works out well because now you've got a whole new character to figure out with new abilities, and it just doesn't feel the same.
Listen, I'll take it if that's what they're going to give me at this point. That's what I'll take.
They gave us that in the past, and I didn't want it after starting it. It was terrible. Anyway,
well, that's too bad.
Listen. Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda. Linda, honey. Anyway.
All right. Yes.
I didn't get to say, I'll just say it. I think did I say this? I did say it last week when you were away. I won't say it again. I was going to talk about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I talked about it last week while you were off taking care of your naughty child.
Yes. Thankfully, my wife is here today watching her, so no random dance moves in the corner behind me.
Well, then you played a couple of HD remasters this week.
Yes,
that came out.
So yeah, the Hitman HD Collection was released. It was released at a pretty hefty price tag. So we were fortunate enough to get this as a review. Or I was fortunate enough to get this.
So you've been reviewing Blood Money and Absolution, which is what comes in the package.
Comes in the package. It released at 79 Canadian.
Wow.
Which for a 2-game remaster is a pretty penny.
$40 a game. Is it? Yep. Are they worth $40 a game?
I'm gonna say no.
Really?
I would say maybe Absolution, but so here's the thing. So you've seen on Facebook these 10-year challenge things and everything like that, where people are posting the 2 pictures of themselves.
Yes,
that's what this feels like. Blood Money, like no textures. It looks bad. It controls, like it's really is like they've just sort of a slight gloss or sheen over top of this game.
Really?
I've played through a couple of missions. I am terrible at it. Like characters are sort of odd and blocky. It doesn't tell you what the controls are to go through. Even starting off the tutorial level, it doesn't tell you what the controls are. And having just been playing, the new Hitman games,
yep.
it is very difficult to get through. It's not a pretty game, even with the HD remaster. Like it's everything's very bare. It's very. I want to say like old school video gamey, if that makes sense.
It does not look new in any way.
No, like I like looking at this, and I'm sure if I popped it in with the 360, it would probably be. You'd look at this and go, okay, yeah, this does look a little better than that. They shined up his head a little bit or something.
But this looks like a game we would have played last gen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that it does not look like it's cleaned up very much. The gameplay itself is not great. I'm not really enjoying Blood Money at all as part of this package. Now, thankfully, they also included Absolution in this package.
And is that one better?
Absolution is more of the engine of what we're seeing in the current games for the Hitman series. Okay. It looks like the environments are much prettier. They do clean up quite nice. The controls are smooth. It's along the same lines where it drops you into an area, gives you your targets, and you have several different ways that you can find to kill them. You can stealth around. You can, if you're bad at stealth, and I'm getting better, but I have had a couple of times where, like, I carefully snuck around to set a trap, tricked a guy into coming to a place, killed him, only to have like somebody show up and walk around the corner as I'm trying to dump the body in a thing, and then have to shoot like 400 people in the face.
Great.
So it also has a really good story connected to the entire playthrough. Like all of the in the new Hitman games, like you've got here's your target and here's who you have to kill and you move from section to section, but like it doesn't really feel connected with the story. It just feels like here's your zone, you're a hitman, and you go and you kill your people that you've been given a contract to kill.
Right.
This one here, it's given a whole storyline attached to it. And I'm trying to remember, like it really has like a Hollywood feel. Like there is a really cool, fun storyline to it as you're going through and do it. It sort of feels a little bit like John Wick, actually. Sort of the story, like you work for the agency, you've been disavowed, and well, I guess not disavowed because they're not, But anyways, like they put out.
They're not Impossible Mission.
Yeah,
or Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. But yeah, like they've sort of said like, yeah, you're no longer part of this team, and so you're trying to now find the truth by chasing down old members of the team and stuff like that. And they send out like the Saints, which is like a group of like hitman assassins after you. And
okay,
I
remember. I think Absolution was the first Hitman I ever tried playing, and some of that mission that we just showed on YouTube here looked familiar to me, but I remember like not understanding the game at all. I never got very far into Absolution because I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah, and it does walk you through. You have your instinct button, so you can hold down the trigger, and it was like, oh, these are the guys you have to kill. They're highlighted in red. The guys in yellow are the guys that can recognize you, and you don't want to get too close to them. And
it definitely looks better than Blood Money, that's for sure.
Yeah. So again, it's like one of those Facebook pictures. Like, hey, this was 2009. This is 2019. Like those two pictures side by side, and it may have been better off if they'd released those individually.
Yeah.
I mean, $40 a piece, I think, is still too much. Like to me, this should have been a $39.99 title.
What do you think what was the motivation behind even releasing these?
I think that they had an opportunity to release Absolution. They may have even been working on some of these levels for the new Hitman game, and they said, like, maybe it's done really well. The new Hitman games, they've done really well. Let's see if we can use that popularity to sell these. And like, from what it feels like to me is like they just ran like a cleanup program over top of the code for Blood Money, and then just popped it in there. It's like we're going to include this so we can sell this for $80, and we'll put it out for $80 for whatever the first 4 months or something like that, and then it'll be $40. We'll have a permanent price drop on it, and it'll go out. Or of the collection, I unfortunately have to say it's not worth the money at $80. If this were a $40 purchase for the two of them, I'd say that's probably worth it to play through as much of Blood Money as you could stand, but to get Absolution in this prettied up version of it, it is nice, and I am enjoying the story going back through that.
But probably Hitman 2 is 100 times better.
Hitman 2 is 100 times better if you want the storyline attached to it, because that's the one thing that Absolution gives you, is it does give you a story that, again, really reminiscent of a John Wick sort of storyline going through. So it is fun to play through. I am glad to get a chance to play through this, but I would have to say, unfortunately, it's not worth the money, particularly at the price point it's at right now.
Fair enough. All right, we only got a couple of minutes left. We got a few news articles. EA has canceled the much anticipated open world Star Wars game. Okay. And I'm so disappointed. It's like, I don't want Battlefront, right? Like, that's not my kind. I don't want a multiplayer only game, Star Wars. I want a Star Wars game, period.
Yeah.
That I can jump into and play that's not multiplayer, and that looks gorgeous like Battlefront does. And now they've gone ahead and canceled it. They did say that there's still something they're working on. Yeah, and then of course there's the Respawn game that's coming, the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, until they cancel that. But until
who knows? And we won't see anything.
They have canceled more Star Wars games than they've released.
They have canceled a lot of Star Wars games in the past.
Yeah, well, was it the 1313? The bounty hunter game that was set to release, which looked really, really cool. Yep. I would love like another KOTOR or something along those lines.
I would really love to be a fly on the wall behind all the meetings and all the goings on behind these Star Wars games, and to like, what's going on that Star Wars games have so much trouble being made?
Yeah.
Like, is it a clash with Disney or Lucasfilm? Is it like, do they not agree with things that they want to do, and they're like, okay, then forget this, we'll just scrap it, it's not worth the time and effort? I mean, they have a contract to make Star Wars games, obviously.
Maybe it is a similar thing to what we kept seeing with the Fantastic Four films, with them like, well, if we put a film out, then we retain the rights. So maybe this is if we have to announce and then cancel a game just to retain
the rights to it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, Annie Hennig was originally, the creator or the writer of Uncharted, was originally attached to this title, and then she left last year, and then they changed it from like an Uncharted style Star Wars game to an open world Star Wars game, and now they've canceled. Like, what is going on behind the scenes? I'd really love to know. So really all we have left now is Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah. But we know nothing about it yet. Absolutely nothing. we won't know anything about it until E3 this year, when they probably show us some teaser trailers or hopefully gameplay. I don't know. They originally said last year that it was going to be, or Vince Zampella said it was going to be Christmas this year, 2019.
Yeah, that won't happen.
That won't happen. I guarantee. It's a Star Wars game. It's not going to happen. But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I need a Star Wars game in my life. I really would love a Star Wars game.
It is, and it is content that is perfect for video games. I mean, you've got laser swords and, you know, like all sorts of, but like even cool beasts and like there's and
the ships, you know, the space flights or space combat. I mean,
like there's tons of opportunities to put something out, and absolutely. they just I don't know what it is that why they're not doing it, but we're missing out on what that should be with Star Wars. Like,
one of my favorite, the most exciting experiences I've had was that short 10-15 minute bonus VR mission in Battlefront 1 that was on PlayStation VR, and you got in and actually piloted an X-Wing, and you're shooting down TIE fighters, flying around Star Destroyers, and it's cool, like, just to look to your side as the foils open, and it's like I'm in a freaking X-Wing. Like,
and remember how awesome Star Wars Connect was?
No,
I'm just kidding.
That
was pretty terrible. But I mean, if that can get made, how is this good stuff not getting made?
Exactly. Like, what is going on? I don't know.
Force Unleashed 3, make that. I will take that. Those were fun games.
Give us more, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Another
pod racing game.
Give us another KOTOR. Like, BioWare. Give us a KOTOR. Like, something. I don't know.
There's got to be something they can do.
That is pretty much it. We don't have much time for anything else. This, of course, has been the OMG Hour, episode number 315. And Tico, it's all about you.
All right, hey, deep breath. It's a lot of stuff. All purple today. All purple. All right, check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/OMGNexus. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place. Follow the show on Twitter at the OMG Hour. Send us your 7 degrees of translation entries, and we will try to stump each other and bring my number up, Sean's number down. Like, subscribe, and comment.
And, of course...
No, I wasn't finished. I was going to add another piece. Then you can talk. I was going to say, don't forget to join us next week for a very special 7 Degrees HD remastered edition.
Of translation. Okay. And, of course, I am Sean Evans, otherwise known as Ziantane, and that is Xiantayne. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this week. We'll be back again next week.
Bye, guys.
This has been an OMGNexus.com production.